A very good morning. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya, and here are the Parliament headlines. Further discussion on Central Sanskrit University's Bill 2019 to take place in Rajya Sabha, already cleared by the Lok Sabha. Bill seeks to convert 3 deemed to be Sanskrit universities into Central Sanskrit universities. National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill 2019 and National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019 also on House's agenda. Discussion to be held on the working of railways and MSME ministries. And Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 listed for further discussion in Lok Sabha. IIT Laws Amendment Bill 2020 to be introduced. Discussion and voting on demands for grants for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and Ministry of Tourism for 2020-21. A look at the legislative business in both houses of Parliament today. The upper house will take up the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. This bill aims to provide for a medical education system that improves access to quality and affordable medical education and promotes equitable and universal healthcare that makes medical services accessible to all citizens. Union Minister Shripad Yeso Naik will also move the National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019, aimed to ensure availability of adequate and high-quality homeopathy medical professionals. The upper house will also continue further discussion on the Central Sanskrit University's Bill 2019. The bill was introduced by HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank on Monday and is intended to convert 3 deemed to be Sanskrit universities into Central Sanskrit universities. Also listed in today's agenda is discussion on the working of the Ministry of Railways. The discussion will be raised by Trinamool Congress MP Derek O'Brien, and another discussion on the working of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, which will be initiated by DMK MP Tiruchi Siva. And the Lok Sabha also is slated to take up a number of bills today. Let's take a look at them. The Direct Tax Vivad Se Vishwas Bill 2020 is listed for consideration and passing in the Lok Sabha. Also, the Indian Institutes of Information Technology Laws Amendment Bill 2020 is also listed for introduction today. The bill aims to amend the Indian Institutes of Information Technology Act 2014 and also amends the Indian Institute of Information Technology Public-Private Partnership Act 2017. Also, the Mineral Laws Amendment Bill 2020 is listed for consideration and passing. This bill aims to further amend the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957 and amends the Coal Mines Special Provisions Act 2015. Also listed for consideration and passing is the Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020 that amends the Aircraft Act 1934. This bill will be moved by Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri. The lower house is also slated to take up discussion and voting on the demands for grants under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment for 2020-21 and discussion and voting on the demands for grants under the Ministry of Tourism for 2020-21. All right, let's get all the updates. Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. Kriti, we've been witnessing how both houses of Parliament, especially in this second half, have been witnessing repeated protests by the opposition over, a discussion really on the Delhi violence. And yesterday it was said by the government that it is ready to discuss the issue, but after Holi. Now, under these circumstances, what can we expect today in both houses today?
Well, Aishwarya, you may recall that at the commencement of the second half of the budget session of Parliament, Chairman of Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu made a very meaningful message. He said that it is important to restore normalcy and also ensure peace in the national capital after the violence that we witnessed in Delhi. So it is very important to ensure, and that's what the government also kept its stance, although it has expressed its willingness to discuss the issue in the Rajya Sabha, and in fact in the Lok Sabha the government has said that it is ready to discuss the issue post-Holi. So it remains to be seen whether a truce is worked out between all sides, because the chairman had also said that he will speak to all sides to ensure that there is a discussion on this particular topic to ensure that there are no further incidents and there are preventive measures in place. So as far as the Rajya Sabha is concerned, there are important legislative bills that are slated to be taken up, including the Central Sanskrit Universities bill that has already been introduced by the HRD minister. There are other important bills like the National Commission for Indian System of Medicine and the National Commission for Homeopathy Bill 2019. Now, these two bills are slated to be discussed together and then moved for passage. There's also important discussion, which is the discussion on the working of Ministry of Railways as well as Ministry of MSME. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Absolutely. And Kriti, if you talk about the lower house, of course, the direct tax Vivad Se Vishwas bill was introduced earlier and it is slated for further discussion. And there is a very important bill that is slated to be introduced today, the IIT Laws Amendment Bill. Tell us more about these bills in the lower house.
Well, absolutely. As you mentioned, that important bills are slated to be taken up in the lower house as well. So there's IIT Laws Amendment Bill that would be introduced in the Lok Sabha, and also the Vivad Se Vishwas direct taxes scheme that was mentioned by the Finance Minister in this year's budget speech. Remember, there are more than 480,000 cases of dispute of direct taxes pending in various tribunals, the High Court as well as the Supreme Court. So this is the amnesty scheme that will allow for this dispute resolution. And the other important bill that would be taken up in the lower house today is the Mineral Laws Amendment Bill as well as the Aircraft Amendment Bill that seeks to enhance the security in the India's civil aviation space. So important bills are lined up in the lower house as well. Aishwarya? All
right, Kriti. Thank you so much for all those updates there from Parliament. So those were the legislative business in both houses. Let's take a look at some other business in the upper house. Following ministers will lay papers pertaining to the ministries today. Let's take a look at them. Dharmendra Pradhan for the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Santosh Kumar Gangwar for the Ministry of Labour and Employment. Hardeep Singh Puri for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Nityanand Rai for the Ministry of Home Affairs. And the House will also pay obituary reference to the passing away of former member Bhadreshwar Buragonoy and the Parliamentary Standing Committee report on finance on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2nd Amendment Bill 2019 will be presented by MPs GVL Narasimha Rao and Mahesh Poddar. And Home Minister Amit Shah will move the motion for election to the Committee on Official Language. And Minister G. Kishan Reddy will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the Standing Committee report on Home Affairs on action taken by the government on the recommendations on administration and development of Lakshadweep. Minister Nityanand Rai will make a statement on the implementation of observations contained in the Standing Committee report on Home Affairs on working conditions in border guarding Centre Armed Police Forces, which include BSF, ITBP, Sashastra Seema Bal and Assam Rifles. Rai will make another statement on the working conditions in non-border guarding Central Armed Police Forces, which include the CRPF, CISF and the NSG. And Rai will also make a statement on the status of implementation of recommendations in the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs on Demands for Grants 2018-19. And following ministers will lay papers in the Lok Sabha today. Prahlad Joshi for the Ministry of Coal and Ministry of Mines. Jitendra Singh for the Department of Science, Department of Atomic Energy and Ministry of Development of North-Eastern Region. Hardeep Singh Puri for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Dhotre Sanjay Shamrao for the Ministry of Communications. And a report of Standing Committee on Finance on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2nd Amendment Bill 2019 will be presented by MPs Jayant Sinha and Gopal Chinya Shetty. And apart from that, MPs Prahlad Joshi and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary will make a motion agreeing with the report of the Business Advisory Committee presented to the House on Tuesday. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Today in Parliament. Do stay tuned. The proceedings of the Upper House are going to commence in a short while from now at 11 a.m. Thanks so much for your time.